Hey, y'all. What'll do? I don't know what the fuck that was. Excuse me. So yeah, yesterday I did a take, talking about, this very bizarre, phenomenon that is happening amongst people who are addicted to, the very least, fentanyl in my city, where they're full on, like, hunched over, like, look at, it's hard to see my waist with the coat, but see, like that. And so they walk like that because seems like their spines are, like, irrevocably just contorted unnaturally. It reminds me of polio. Like, it really does. It's a sad thing to see, and the reason, as I said, was that people don't want to nod out and then lose everything they have on their person. But where I left off was talking about how the government and various programs have tried to give people clean heroin. The Monarch program, which I mistook as a butterfly program for some reason. Whatever, close enough. Monarch's like a moth, right? Could be wrong about that too, who knows. But in any case, they considered it a failure, so they just, cut people off. But what really happened was they failed to get the supply, so they started giving people Dilaudid instead. And as someone who used to, inject Dilaudid when there was no heroin to be found, only fentanyl, I can tell you that it is not the same fucking thing by a long shot. They prescribe Dilaudids like fucking, Tylenols or fucking Ritalin to ADD kids in my city, to any addict who would ask. If I asked for a bottle of Dilaudid 8s, or Dilates, hydromorphone, 8 milligrams that I could crush up and shoot into my arm, I would get them. I actually had my doctor basically force a bottle on me once, and I took a couple orally and was like, this ain't doing much for me, and then just didn't take it. But, because of that, consequently, all these people are selling their stuff on the streets, their Dilaudid, so they can buy fentanyl. It's unfortunate, and I've heard sort of hush-hush wispy whispers about the government actually giving addicts fentanyl, like full-on fentanyl, like pharmaceutical fentanyl, I'm guessing. But I mean, these are products of, hearsay, so I can't really concretely say one way or the other, though I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they said it in the Vice documentary, so it must be true, right? It must be true. But, if they are doing that, it's not really working, or they're not rolling it out on a scale that's working. One of the two. Because, it's time to, to curb that tide, you have to, nip it in the bud before people can't have fentanyl without the presence of a tizolam or a tranquilizer in it. And, it's that, the presence of, after-stated drugs that makes it so dangerous, because of the presence of, 2 downers, which is the most dangerous combination you can really muster. But I'm going to take a second to talk about why this makes the government hypocrites, because, it is plainly visible that people are developing these irreversible back problems, and I can tell that, their disability is covering canes, and it's covering chairs and all of this, but still they can lie down in their chair like that and roll along. And so that means essentially in free healthcare Canada, but those people are going to end up costing the government a lot of money. Now, what other demographic is doing that? Cigarette smokers. And that is the government's justification for why they're taxing the shit out of cigarettes, because of the amount of taxpayer dollars that has to go towards smoking-related illnesses. And you know me, fish on a hook. You just hear the word and light up, it's like, it's true. It's like that movie, Thank You for Smoking, where he sees the dude smoking, or not the dude, what's that actor's name? Amazing actor, the guy from Night of the Hunter, which is like one of my favorite movies. I'm surprised I'm like stoned enough to be spacing that right now. Where he's in Normandy and he's lighting up, and it just like causes this instinctual reaction to light up on behalf of the character. But anyways, I digress. So there's essentially, just to loop back, there's essentially what seems to be a policy in my city for police officers, various healthcare workers, not to interact or take, or well, not necessarily not to interact with addicts, but not to take them into custody or to force them to do anything against their will that will essentially put them in their responsibility. Because I get it, no one wants to deal with someone who's going to be going through like the most extreme withdrawals one could imagine within, say, 24 hours or less, even. Probably less. Fentanyl lasts a lot shorter than, other opioid analgesics. For the most part, about the same as morphine analgesics, such as itself, but stuff like heroin seemed to last longer, and they had no problem like fucking with heroin addicts, that's for sure. But just to get back to the point of, this is their excuse for that it's costing the medical system so much, so we need to raise the tax to $5 a pack, even if it's like a budget brand cigarette. $5 tacked on top of whatever outrageous price it has before, making, say, a pack of Viceroys. For you in the States, how much does a pack of Viceroys cost to tax? Tell me in the comments. You know how much it would probably cost here? I mean, I don't know for sure because I haven't bought one, but I know how much the budget brand smokes go for. It'll typically come out to about $15 with tax. You know why? Because it's such a burden on our healthcare system. Well, what about this burden that you are just allowing to happen? These back problems that are going to require serious work. Like, but at this rate, it's so bad. It's like they're going to need back braces. They're going to need like electric wheelchairs. They're going to need around-the-clock physio. Like, it's painfully just absurd, and it is going to cost probably more than, well, maybe not more, but within the same ballpark as someone who has, say, lung cancer or cancer of the esophagus, or any other illness that could stem from smoking. Now, I'm not defending smoking. I'm not saying that's a good thing it says people who made decisions like I'm making right now are becoming a huge incursion upon the taxpayer. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying for the government to pick and choose in that way, I think is very foolish. But I mean, it seems to me that at least currently as in right now, today, I don't know the date off the top of my head, so say today, you'll see it on the fucking video, on the timestamp or whatever, or not timestamp, but the date which this video is posted, which will be the same day as today, that now it's an issue that has gone unacknowledged I don't like. I hear other people talking about it. I don't see it in the newspaper headlines. There's no colloquial term even on the streets for people who are like that. There's of course the term the Hastings Shuffle, which is for people that were I was pretty close to doing the Hastings Shuffle myself, and it's basically when you're all fucked up on opioids and other drugs, and you got kind of bowed knees like this, and just hobbling along. And it's not meant to be a term that's like pejorative. It kind of is just by nature, but it's more for people who grew up in East Van, where the concentration of people doing said shuffle is the highest. Just most jokes, it's a way of making light of a very harsh and unsavory reality. But it's gotten far worse. No one's joking about it, no one's saying anything. People are just ignoring this problem. Back pain, back problems are what gets people hooked on opioid medications in the first place. And I'm sorry, but I can sing to the high heavens the merits of cannabis and ketamine as an analgesic, but that is not going to help you when you can't even bend upwards in the slightest. So what I'm saying is, if nothing's done about this soon, and the answer is still clean, safe supply, so these people can live a normal life and potentially get a home, potentially get a job, potentially get a place where they can nod off and not have to worry about people rifling through their pockets, like I have seen happen multiple times, when either those people just pass out sitting down, or they nod out while they're leaning over and then slide back against the wall, go down, and people go through their pockets. Happens a lot. I see it. I have to tell them to fucking beat it or whatever, and it sucks. It's a shame, and they're still human beings. Damn it, they're still human beings. Just because they're contorted and they look funny doesn't mean they're not. It just means that wasn't at one point a little boy or a little girl, someone's son, someone's daughter, someone who was thought to have had promise, someone who had talent, someone who had friends, who had a dynamic social life, or maybe didn't, but still had something, that they could say that could potentially change the world if it was heard from the right platform. As sad as it is to say, and as much as this is my inner pessimist coming out, I like to think, I don't like to think, but I tend to think that most genius we could have seen has been wasted in stuff like, people falling into the throes of addiction, this fucking snake pit that, that just hits them with the incurable venom of just constant compulsive use and toxic levels, no less. So what I'm saying is we gotta fucking straighten it out. I don't want to see, there's a place, I'm not going to say the name of it because I don't want fucking anarchists coming after me, but there is a place, and I watched this happen, where they're saying we're going to give out free heroin, free cocaine, and it's all synthesized by kids at a nearby university. Not kids, but new students, new chemistry students at various colleges, when it ended up being revealed that their sources were from the dark net anyways. I watched this happen because I wanted to get some to give to people who I knew that were using. And it was supposed to be real heroin. It was supposed to be real cocaine and methamphetamine, I believe. but they had such a reduced amount compared to kind of what they had led people to believe, but they also were giving people way too much. So a lineup of hundreds of people formed, and they had someone going around in the lineup. I was probably about the 100th, or no, I was like the 97th person or something, with a couple other people. And they went around and they were saying, oh, we'll give you $10 to march in this parade with us. And actually, no, first what they said was, here, sign this form, da, 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 and they made it sound like it was something that was a prerequisite for being given this, free, clean supply. When really it wasn't. It was just to try and get people to agree to take part in this like hours-long march in the boiling hot sun, when you have a ton of addicts who are, sick and already sweating because of their withdrawals, their homeostasis going nuts. And ultimately, it just kind of struck me as a big publicity stunt. And if anything, it did more harm than good, because a lot of those people who did get something, which was about the first 10, they all just sold it and bought fentanyl immediately. So I'm not saying we need something like that again, please. I'm saying we need something serious, something honest, something that is like, what Switzerland or Portugal did. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again because it's getting worse out there. And, it's bullshit, and I'm not going to take it anymore. But what can I do? What can I do except just, try to supply people with a little bit of free cannabis to help, in even just a minuscule way. It's unfortunate, but anyways, it's really like all I can say on the matter. Actually, no, I could keep going. There's a litany of things I could continue to say on the matter, but I think that really checks like every major box. So I'll leave it at that and just say, subscribe and let me know what you think needs to be done about this like very obvious crisis. Okay, bye. Stay sexy.